Hey everyone, welcome to our interview, and joining me today is not going to be a player. In fact, today I am joined by Hi-Rez Kelly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. So, there's a lot to be asked today. Of course, anytime we interview a high-res employee, it's always going to be lots of different questions, and there's certainly a different mindset that goes into it. So
hmm
we'll get to as far as like your station and what your responsibilities are. But let's go ahead and do the standard format to start out with. So,
Okay.
like leading into this, what are your origins as a gamer, and how did you get into gaming in general?
It's actually a really long story, so I hope you're patient.
I'm ready.
My parents are both gamers. They actually met playing Dungeons and Dragons. So being a gamer has been like it's literally in my blood. I started playing the oldest game I can remember. I was playing Marble Madness on my parents' Atari, and then I got into games like Ultima 7, Might and Magic. I played my first MMO. I was 9 years old. I played Ultima Online with my parents and my sister. We moved on to stuff like DAOC, World of Warcraft. My parents play Lord of the Rings online now. So it's always been like a family activity. Anytime we'd go out to dinner, we would just talk about World of Warcraft or something like that. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so gaming has never been like not a thing. It's just always been around. My parents still play Dungeons and Dragons every Sunday with their two best friends. So gaming has just always been there.
That's awesome. So, I mean, obviously, you kind of have like there's this difference between these players, and sometimes they have like FPS origins, or they have MMO or RPG. It seems like you have like
hmm
the standard RPG progression that most young gamers do, because you have like the Ultima, which was like the core. Most people like say this the OG gamers, like
It's
anyone who
such a
has
good
UO.
game.
You
I
know,
was
you
talking
select
about it
your
on my
underwear
stream
color and
today.
you run around in your 2D bird's eye world, and and then into WoW and of course Daok, and then there was I'm surprised your parents didn't play Lotra. I don't really know any people that play Lotra nowadays, but now obviously like flash forward you have Smite, which is a MOBA, and you also streamed a little bit of Diablo as well, or actually a lot of bit of Diablo.
Oh yeah.
So how did the shift come from the RPG into maybe I guess UO to Diablo isn't that big of a leap?
So I've been running actually like fighting game tournaments. My first one I ever ran, I don't know if you would consider this, but it was at Evo. I ran a Super Smash Brothers Melee tournament at my school by myself when I was 15 and had like over 64 people sign up. We had to stop it at 64
Wow.
because so many people were coming in. And ever since then, I've just been traveling, helping run tournaments, and like going to video game conferences and conventions and that kind of stuff. So I've always been around like the sort of esports feel of video games in general. I actually started streaming because my boyfriend at the time streamed Street Fighter. And I would watch him stream or I would help moderate. And I was like, this is really easy and simple. And it's just someone puts a webcam on and they play video games. And Diablo 3 released, and about like 3 weeks after it released, I pretty much played it every single day for like 6 hours straight. And I was like, what's the difference from putting a camera on, having people watch me, because I'm gonna play it anyway. So I started streaming, and it was such a casual stream. I didn't talk, I didn't have any like overlays, I didn't really do much. And then something happened that made me want to try harder at it. I don't really know what it was. It might have actually been me starting my internship as a teacher and realizing that I might not want to be a teacher, which is probably a good thing. Not that there's anything wrong with being a teacher at all. Definitely support teachers and educators. But at some point, I started getting more serious. I started actually like looking up how to utilize OBS or XSplit and try to like make overlays. I got in contact with other streamers. I did a lot to actually like I pretty much after I worked, and I eventually started interning full time for free or unpaid because there was an unpaid internship. And I would still after my internship every day would get on stream for about 3 hours and then have like an hour before an hour afterhand of like looking up everything that I did, seeing what I could do better, and staying in chat and talking to people. So I streaming became a big part of my life about a year ago, actually.
So streaming was what was it more about the streaming? Because it seemed like you just kind of had a realization like yeah, streaming's easy and I'm doing it anyway, so I may as well have this dual faceted aspect where I'm benefiting in this way. Did you have any monetary involvement, or were you just doing it to do it at the time?
There was a point in time where I was like, I got partnered. I started streaming SimCity when it came out, and I don't know if it was me being like one of the first people streaming it or actually being pretty well. I did pretty well, like building cities really quickly, but I got up to 6 and 7,000 like viewers a day, which is a very substantial amount. I was like the ninth most viewed like Twitch streamer for like a week, which is pretty crazy. And I realized I was like, maybe I should get partnered and make money off of this. So I did that. I got partnered because I mean, with that many viewers, you're pretty much going to get partnered no matter what. And I made like the most I've ever made. Oh, I'm not allowed to talk about it. I still don't think you're allowed to talk about how much money you make on Twitch.
I don't think so.
But I ran commercials and I made a decent amount of money during that time that I streamed Sim City, or yeah, Sim City. But once the like numbers dropped off, like running commercials doesn't really make you enough to like live off of it. So I eventually just stopped running commercials altogether because I didn't see a point. I'm either gonna like run commercials and make a living off of it, or I'm not gonna bother. There are times that I've run like funds because I had to stop streaming because my CPU couldn't handle it. So I ran a donation fund to buy me this i7 3770K, which is an awesome processor, and I raised the money in like a day. So there has been issues with like monetization and like trying to make it a profit, but after a while I pretty much just stopped and didn't see a point because I really didn't like asking money from people. I had a donation button, but I pretty much like never asked for donations, and I only asked for donations if I was ever doing a charity stream or if I needed something for my computer.
Fair enough. So that was SimCity,
Yes.
which was kind of like just a new release type thing.
Yes.
And then, I mean, you were part of. I mean, you did a Diablo a lot. I remember when
Oh,
I was
yes.
streaming Smite, and then you were the Diablo girl that came to join the Smite scene.
Yeah.
So I mean, what first turned you on to Smite?
Um, there was this chat viewer or just chat person. I don't like. I guess just a viewer. His name was Click. I don't know if you know who Click is, but
Yes.
he used to watch me stream Diablo way back when, like he probably 11, 10 months ago. And one day when I was like, oh, Diablo is boring, Guild Wars 2 is boring, like I don't know what to stream. He was like, you should try this game called Smite. And I was like, sure. He was a moderator in my chat, so I was like, yeah, I'll listen to him. So I downloaded the game. I've played Han before, I've played League before, haven't played Dota, but I've played them and wasn't really interested in MOBAs. And then I played Smite. And I love mythology to begin with. I think it's awesome. I mean, I went to school to be a history teacher, and mythology is kind of a part of history. So just the fact that I was playing like my favorite gods and goddesses and titans and demons and all that kind of stuff was just awesome to me. And that's initially what started like to turn me on to Smite. I played Kali like crazy. I was so bad. I know I'm not the best now, but I was way worse back then. And I only played Kali, and it was back when they had like the side lanes with like the yellow buff, I think
Like
it
the
was.
wings, yeah. It had
Yeah.
the green buff and then
Like I
yellow buff
played
in the
back
middle.
in August, and I remember watching Lassus, and this was back when Lassus would get like 200 viewers, and I was like, wow, he's super popular. Like I should learn from him. So I'd watch his stream to kind of learn, and then I ended up stopping and went back to Smite or to Diablo and everything. But Click is the reason that I got into Smite.
So now, I mean, so that was just kind of like a little touch on Smite. You kind of like touched it. It seemed like you liked it a lot right off the bat.
Yeah.
Enjoying the idea of it. Maybe not. There was a lot to learn as far as like the conceptual meta and how to play it correctly and all that. So there's obviously that barrier of entry that I'm sure everyone runs into when they play a game like this. So I mean, what I mean, of course, there's still this gap between you playing Smite and then playing it for what you do now as far as profession. So now you tried Smite. Now you're kind of interested a little bit. How did that progress forward?
So around January or February, I pretty much my stream was this huge big thing. I streamed every day. I had got like 18,000 followers and that kind of stuff. It was a pretty big deal for me. It was a very, very serious hobby. And I realized that maybe I wanted to do something into gaming instead of teaching. So around February, I started streaming Smite, and pretty much only Smite. And there was a time where this was when SimCity came out, and I had like 4,000 viewers, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna bring them all over to Smite. And I think like 2,000 people stayed, which is crazy for a single streamer. And like some people reacted well to it. Some people were like, oh, this is a League of Legends ripoff, like you know how they like to be. Uh, But I started streaming Smite. I really liked it. I was trying to like learn. This is when I did my now Amir marathon, where I only played Amir, and people
Oh
make fun
God.
of me for that still. But I actually started kind of like learning the game a little bit. I met the gentleman or online of Curse, or was once then Curse, and I played with them, and they actually like kind of taught me how to like play it a little bit better and everything. So Smite became like a regular hobby of mine. And I usually don't play games like that much, and I really did, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a game that didn't bore me. Like with Diablo, you essentially do this like one act, and then you do it over and over and over again. With Smite, it's always like a different combination. It's always like different plays coming out. Sometimes you'll have 2-on-2 lanes. Sometimes you'll have one jungler. Like it's always different. No two games are the same. And I guess with me streaming it more and getting a decent amount of viewers for being like a solo streamer, not on the Smite game stream, people from Hi-Rez hit me up. And they said, "Hey, Kelly, we see that you're doing a drive for you to go to PAX." Because I was raising money to go to PAX East. And they're like, "We can, if you work for us, like, we'll fly you out there. And you just have to stay at our booth. You're going to have to cosplay," which a lot of females do, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I was going to pay for it anyway, so I'll definitely go. So I went with them there, and I guess I was very tenacious, and they saw that not only did I know a lot about the esports scene, but I also had like a lot of ideas, and I was giving them like I offered to like stream at any time that there was downtime. I was saying like, oh, this should be different about like how this interface is. You should do it like that. And I guess they liked that, and they kind of, as I've heard before, needed a female version of Bart. So they needed someone that was a little bit nicer. Not saying that Bart is mean, but a little bit nicer. And they needed someone to handle the stuff that Bart essentially just didn't have time to handle, as well as a bunch of other things. And I fit that description. So they hired me essentially right after PAX, and I said that I wasn't going to take the job until I finished my degree. And it was only a month and a half away. So it kind of sucked still working and getting no pay when I could have been up in like Atlanta,
Right,
making money for
right.
like video gaming. But that's how that transition from just being a streamer to actually working for them came about.
So now, I mean, obviously you're Hi-Rez Kelly. How did that
Yes.
transition go for you?
It was weird. There's still parts of me that are very stubborn about it. Like I still haven't changed my in-game name on Smite from Hello Kelly Link to Hi-Rez Kelly. I wanted my Hello Kelly Link brand to stay in case I ever wanted to like make YouTube videos or make stream more that wasn't Smite. And I randomly stream from like time to time. It's not like on my personal channel, but not really anymore. But going there, Hi-Rez, I mean, video companies aren't exactly the best like representation of like, a super strict like company business. So like everyone has to like come in at 9 and leave at 5. It's very casual, but it's also still like we have meetings all the time. We have, people coming in, and like we do interviews, and I've done a bunch of like conference calls with people. Like I never thought I was gonna do that. I've interviewed people for positions. Like it's really interesting how I've transitioned over there, because when I first started working, I kind of just sat at my desk and waited to stream because they didn't really know what they wanted me to do. And then like I started getting in contact with teams. I started getting in contact with like the managers of those teams, and the tournaments that are being run. We're doing a lot with the tournaments, doing a lot with tournament websites. We're working on a Mumble right now for pugs that we're going to start running. I've done a lot with the stream, a lot with the Friday stream that me and Bart do. I do a lot of interviews, and of course I travel. And all these are like, very small things, but they add up. Like especially with the website that we're doing, we're revamping it a lot. We're trying to make it a lot bigger. We're trying to make it more consumer friendly. So a lot of just small stuff that adds up. That's essentially the like loose ends that I try and tighten up and make sure that everything is running as smoothly as possible, so that we can get the esports scene of Smite as big as we want it to be.
Yeah, it seems like it's a little looser, but it's also like it's getting stuff done type thing. It's not as rigid as structure, but there's still a
Hmm.
lot to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, my next question is, I mean, what is it like working for Hire as far as like the staff goes and the people and the environment? It seems like as far as we as the viewers see on the Smite Game channel,
Hmm.
is always there's the silly string and the cake and all the crazy stuff and the hats all over the place. But I mean, there's obviously some depth to that we don't get to see. So what is it like working in the office?
Well, when you first walk in, you'll notice that we have like, the beanbag chairs which you find in every, game company. We have the playtest room which there's like 50 computers all set up. But there's also like a bunch of cubicles and people like, have all their monitors and people are always working. People go in at 9 and leave at like 8 or 9 like p.m. Like the people at Hi-Rez definitely like work hard. And the thing is when I first visited Hi-Rez Studios, I everyone can like decorate their like cubicle or desk or whatever however they want. Like I have a few anime figurines. I have my Vegeta bobblehead on my desk and everything. And I walked by this one guy's desk and he had this giant Dragon Ball Z poster and he had like a bunch of figurines and everything. And I was like, "Sweet, someone that likes Dragon Ball Z, I can talk to this person." Cuz I'm a little shy. Like off camera, I'm kind of a little bit more awkward and shy. And Bart pointed to this the guy out to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's this guy right here. You should say hi to him." I was like, "Hey, like I like Dragon Ball Z too. I love your poster. I'm wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt now because I was." And he just kind of stayed quiet and was like, "Oh, cool," and looked away. And that set the pace for how I was the entire time I've been there. I'm all like awkward and it's hard for me to talk to people, even though they're all giant gamers and nerds too. And like that was my first experience going in there, and everyone's like, everyone likes to like rough house and play around, especially this gentleman named Nabil. He's sent a few people through the wall. Literally, there's a hole in our wall now.
Nice.
Oh yeah, people get tackled all the time. I've been hit in the face with a cupcake. Bart's been silly stringed. It's casual, but people get it like the work done, which is at the end of the day important, especially when it
Right.
is very casual. We have this like this lunchroom where there's tons of food and drinks that everyone can have, and we have this like 50-inch monitor that plays our Smite game stream all the time. So it's really cool, and everyone's super friendly. There's a few awkward nerds, but I can say that because I'm one of them. So it's definitely like there's a lot of gamers there, and there's a lot of young people too that I noticed. It's really an interesting mix of like people that are close to like 50 and then people that are like 23. That's my age.
Sounds
It's
like it.
yeah, it's pretty
S-
interesting.
So what is I mean, what is a typical work day for you? Like when does it start? What happens? What do you go through? And then how does it end?
So I typically like to get there at 9:30. That's around the time that I can get there. Like I said, they're not too strict, so people get in from like 9 to 10 with no real like time constraint. I grab a drink of water. People always are like, grabbing coffee when I walk in. And then I go to my computer. The first thing I do is I check my emails and I check Skype. I like talk to any teams that need help, talk to any tournament organizers that need help, talk to any companies that like need help. I direct them to the right people or I can answer them myself. I gather information from people that we need. Typically on Monday, I go through prizing of all the tournaments that we support, which although easy is a long and tedious like task. And then I around 11 or 11:30, depending on the day. If it's Monday, I'll like start preparing it at 10, my stream. But all the other days, I prepare probably an hour or half an hour beforehand of what I'm gonna do, anything that I need to show, anything that I need to talk about. And then I stream from noon to 3, and then I have like an hour break. But even in that break, I'm always checking Reddit for Smite, or I'm talking to more people on Skype and everything, making sure the teams are happy and that there's no issues. And then from around like 4 to 6 or 7, sometimes I'll leave at 6, sometimes I'll leave at 7, and I've left work at like 10:30 p.m. before if we're doing playtests. Sometimes I'll help with playtest. Majority of the time I'm working on the esports page. We're working with like how we're going to streamline aiding tournaments and that kind of stuff. Pretty much that. That's my general work day. Today we did a lot of like videos. So there's about like 10 of us in the playtest room all playing together and like helping this one guy who's going to make a video for us and everything. So it
Nice.
varies. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it seems like it's more of a as things come in, you deal with it type thing. You're always keeping
Yes.
up, and I had the opportunity to talk to Bart as well. Unfortunately, that interview wasn't kept is
Hmm.
it's like you kind of have to be in the know. So like you
Yes.
mentioned there, so like even though you're having downtime, you have lunch, you still have to keep up with the Reddit
Oh
and what's
yeah.
going on with the community and who's happening where and like what the teams are changing and all that. So it seems like there's like all these wheels turning at the same time. So as far as like what we get to see on the Smite game stream is you just playing the game. There's also like all this extra stuff that happens around it,
Yeah.
and you know
Oh yeah.
I'm glad to bring that to light for all the viewers here for this
Yes.
interview.
The
But
the
I mean,
executives are always walking around making like checking in with people, talking with people, making sure that we could like, utilize whatever we're doing, try making sure that everything is coordinated. Like it's really interesting. My desk is like 25 feet away from like the executive's desk.
the
So,
overlords.
yes, the overlords. So it's there like there's not really that many positions. Like there's not like we have the co-manager and then the manager and then like the advisor to that, and that it's very like all equal level, besides of course the executives. But it's interesting just having them there. Like the CEO of Hi-Rez Studios just came into my stream and like started trolling me and telling me what to do and how to play Guan Yu. So it's pretty interesting. Not many CEOs would do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we see him all the time hopping in, and sometimes Erez will just hop in a chat and be like, "Hey, this is what's happening in the next few weeks."
I
And
know,
everyone just like
right?
blow. They're like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" So it's awesome to see the involvement from all the. I mean, literally everybody in Hi-Rez, and I'm sure there's a lot of interns that do a lot of the grunt work. I'm sure that we don't really give a lot of credit to,
Oh
and
yeah.
of course like the mid level, and then just all over the place. I mean, it's fascinating to hear about how you guys function over there on the other side of the United States
Yeah.
on the coast there.
All right, you're the
Um,
West Coast.
I know, right? Speaking of changes,
Mhm.
today Bart laid upon us some fascinating patch notes.
Yes.
Um, can you talk a little bit about it? I mean, as far as like maybe your personal opinion, or maybe things that you can tell us, or are things you predict?
Well,
Because obviously, I'm sure you know more
I
than the rest of
do,
us,
but I
and there's
don't like
stuff you
saying
can't tell
anything.
us, right?
I
So, I mean,
know.
as
I don't
far as
like.
like what you can tell us.
I mean, with the changes to Conquest that we're making and how like the camps are changing with buffs and everything. I feel and like they kind of made jungling worse, but jungling better. They made soloing worse, but soloing better. Like they changed the lane. There's a lot of things, and I feel like what we do at Hi-Rez, especially since we're still in beta, and I don't think a lot of people realize that when they complain like, "Oh, why are these drastic changes here?" We're still in beta. We're trying to test out what's the best possible like solution or the best possible way to run like a certain map or mode. And instead of just slowly pushing things in there, the developers just kind of like to throw it all at once. And if it doesn't work, they are like, all right, never mind, and they take it away. Or they cut it down drastically and then they cut it down again and cut it down until it sort of fits that mold. It's different than how a lot of companies operate, and it's stressful because there's a lot of times where we'll throw something, say like Boomba's Mask, which started the whole jungling craze, and people will freak out and they'll say that it's crazy, and now about like a decent majority of our players are like, oh no, yeah, we like jungling, and then there's the other half that's like, no, it's still terrible, and you're just like, who do we appease to? We try to make it even. We try to make it good for everybody. We try and experiment. And I think the thing that people just need to remember is that we're still in beta. We're not officially released yet. We're still trying to. So that's what I feel like this patch is. I feel like, making the lane
Another
bigger,
shotgun.
changing camps and everything. I like it. I like the experimentalness of it. I don't like jungling because I play tank and support. But like I think it's cool playing a different game.
Yeah, it's something
And
that we've
that's
seen literally time and time again. We had the focus and the stats implemented, then we had the jungle, of course, and just we had some items with the PTS, and it seems like, and this is something that you touched on that really needs to be understood, is the fact that it is an experimental, and if you're
mhm.
in the beta stage, it's the fastest way to get feedback and results is to just throw it out there instead of doing it gradually, because
Yeah.
then people kind of just react to it. So, I mean, obviously, it seems like the jungle's here to stay for now. There's not really
Yes,
any
for
gripes
now.
about that as far as the overall conceptual design at Hi-Rez, regardless of a few gripes here and there. And there's just so much changing this patch. And of course, there's not a whole lot you can talk about here. But do you have any? I mean, obviously, since the role you play,
Hmm.
the tank support, why would the changes affect you in that specific role?
I think if when you watch like the tournaments and everything, like when I play casual games, there's maybe like one person that wants to be a tank. And even when I played ranked today, people like were like, "Oh, no one ever wants to play tank." Like I love playing tank. I love playing support. I think that, and but when you like look at the competitive level with our weeklies, our NA and EU weeklies, like tanks are always the first one picked. They're always like banned, like so like typically gets banned and that kind of stuff. Isis with the support role, she also does damage in like mid lane will, but like it, I typically just like to instead of reading it and like implementing it in my head does not work well. I just like to like go into it not really knowing much and then learning the differences as I do it, if that makes sense. That might be a
Oh,
little bit
perfect sense,
confusing.
right?
Huh?
Well, that's how most people operate as well, and this is something that I'm sure, as a streamer, you probably get asked all the time, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? It's
All the time.
everything's always implementation dependent. So depending on like how like you can read something, or even like at a new god, I'm sure for you, you get to play test a lot, but for
Oh
us,
yeah.
it's more like when we read the god, it's like, what do you think about this god? It's like, well, I need to play it in game first. So it's always going to be that more physical representation. So you
Hmm.
need to try it in game to see how it works, how you feel about it, all that.
That's
So certainly
exactly how I
there's
feel.
that aspect for the patch notes, especially like I mean the new items and new
Oh
actives.
yeah.
So you said you haven't played Dota,
No,
but you
never played
played
Dota.
League and Han, and of course in Han there's the analogous the teleport stone, the
Yes.
teleportation stone, the homecoming stone.
Hmm.
Now that is being shifted in Smite to be able to teleport to towers. How do you feel about that change?
If people can teleport to towers, that'll obviously like help lane pushing and everything at the early game, and it'll allow people to like jump in close. I don't think it's as big of a change as a lot of people are making it out to be. It's literally the difference of like 30 seconds of someone running to it, but those 30 seconds also can make a big change. I know like it's kind of a cop out, but I really don't know until I actually see it myself. I think that the way that the early game goes is going to be completely different, especially with the elongated lane and now solo laning becoming a bit more difficult because of how the gold works now with tower damage.
Right.
It's I feel like people are gonna stay in their. I really don't know. I don't know if people are gonna like not gonna like roam around as much, if they're not gonna gank as much because of it, if people are gonna try and push their like towers more. It's difficult to say. I'm sorry. I'm sure
It's
I
a
have like
tough
the
one,
most.
certainly, and especially I'm sure because I think most people don't realize how much work competitive players put in to keep
Oh
up
yeah.
with the meta, to practice new strategies, and when things change, they have to be prepared because there's tournaments every single weekend.
Oh
So when
yeah.
something changes and then that's being implemented for the tournament, the team that's the most prepared for it is the one that's going to succeed. So everyone has to be
Typically.
like working all day long. So I mean, we're kind of just waiting for them to figure out how they want to do it and how things work out for them because they're doing all the min maxing and the
Hmm.
research and the strategy and all
Oh
that.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm sure there's gonna be a lot coming.
Oh, especially people like Pon Pon, who's not in a team now, and I don't know if he's going to be in a team. But like watching him talk about the meta, like that's crazy. I remember it was when Boomba's Mask first came out, and I think he was playing like Boomba's Nausea, and he was just destroying people. And it was crazy, and I was like, "Oh, Boomba's is way too overpowered. This is ridiculous. It should be removed from the game." And then I realized that that's Pon Pon. Like you can't really like watching these players and just like learning from them. That's not how all the games are going to go. I'm sure how they utilize teleport is going to be completely different than how a lot of the casual gamers use it.
Oh, absolutely. So speaking of competitive players, since we're talking about Pompon right now, this interview, of course, is brought to you by Tier Monster, a website that is more about stat rankings, a lot of stuff. The community. We also have Code Green, the individual sign up tournament. Pompon is a member on there. You can check them out. I mean, what are your thoughts on Tier Monster? Favorite things about Tier Monster? Since this is what this whole interview is brought by.
Of course. Well, the whole when me and Bar started our Friday stream, we wanted an interview section, and we were trying to figure out who we wanted to interview first. And I was like, we need to get Dry Bear on here. And he was like, why do you want Dry Bear? Why do you not want any of the other people? And I'm like, because Tier Monster is going to be awesome, and we need to get it as like publicized as we can. Because it is an amazing community website. I mean, we have like a bunch of community websites out there, and like they're all awesome. But like Tier Monster, they're like I knew that there was going to be something different about Tier Monster, and I know that sounds very like cheesy and cliche, but that's why I wanted you to be my first like interviewee. And like Tier Monster, not like I really like the fact that you guys have a ranking system for support because there's so many people that like gripe about like our elo system and like that kind of stuff and how we
Right.
don't really support supports or tanks that well. So I really like that. I really like the fact that you guys have like a pon luck award. You have, oh god, what is it, like the chinder, like chicken tender,
Chicken tender and man mode.
and then what's Lassus's
Man mode.
man mode, right? And I really like that you guys get really creative with it. You're really personal. You guys are always updating it. You guys are running like the tournament now. You're doing an awesome thing for the community, and like, and now with your tournament, you guys did really well with it. How many signups did you have for your first week?
And our signups close in about 40 seconds.
Crazy. That's insane. And you guys did a casual tournament where like it was pretty much a pickup game where anyone could like you just randomly assign teams. So it gave the opportunity for like maybe like not as good players to play with people that are a bit more competitive. It allowed people to like get to know each other and like work together. I really liked that. And it might not have been like as constructed, but I heard you guys had like a lot of viewers or wait, did you stream it?
Yeah, we streamed it. We
Yeah.
went around 700 the first day, but I mean, I was blown away with how like I mean, what we all were here at Tier Monster. We were blown away with the coordination that we had. I mean, Team Godzilla was the first team to win our first tournament, and they just played so beautifully together. It seemed like
Yeah.
they all have, and the way we construct it, it's all balanced by our own rating system. Of course, we're gonna have
Oh,
like
really?
the support team. So that's we the people who are in the tournament are also on Tier Monster, and then we balance it
Uh-huh.
randomly. We randomly construct the teams, but also balance them based on their rating on Tier Monster, so it's all
That's
equaled out.
awesome.
So that's why I mean it worked out so perfectly that everyone was around the same skill level and the teams were evenly matched, and there was just a lot of cool stuff going on. And then of course the team that won, it seemed like they had everything going from there. Everyone got the role they wanted, and it all worked out. So I mean, it was
Yeah.
awesome just not only to cast it but also to watch it and then just see how other community react to it overall.
Oh yeah. And I mean, everyone loves you, Dry Bear, so of course they're gonna support you and everything.
Of course. But that's pretty much it for us, guys. Do you have any final shout outs or opinions you want to shoot out there for people to hold on to?
Definitely check out for Gamescom and for PAX Prime. We made an official announcement, I believe, yesterday that we are going to those. We're inviting the top 4 EU teams to Gamescom, and we're inviting the top 4 NA teams to PAX Prime. So that's definitely the big thing that's coming up. Check out the NA Weekly and the EU Weekly. Obviously, check out the Code Green tournament and everything like that.
Woo!
Support your community. Check out the streams, all that good stuff, the cliche things. Follow me on Twitter at
Hi-Rez
Hi-Rez Kelly. Yep.
Hi-Rez Kelly. At Hi-Rez Kelly, you'll find all that information in the description, but also annotated on the screen if it is a YouTube link as well. But there's plenty of information and lots of stuff to be found. Hi-Rez Kelly, of course, is all around the community. She is one of the cornerstones. Hi-Rez Bart and Hi-Rez Kelly are the two counterparts. The esports manager is the official title.
I'm an esports coordinator. He's an esports manager.
Okay,
He's
esports manager,
above me.
esports coordinator. So I mean, you guys are not only. It seems like you're just like the grandpappy of the community. You're just always involved and as the goings and the comings and
trying
goings
to
of the
be.
community. So
Yes.
grandpappy and grandmammy, I should say. But that's gonna be it for us, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Put your feedback in the comment section below and anything you would
Oh,
like
God.
to hear Kelly. I'm sure Kelly's gonna be trolling the comment section, looking for all the questions you have for her. But
Yep.
we'll check you in our next video.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Big pickup, very strong character.
Definitely.
But with the way the meta is now, he doesn't really fit into it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's kind of like forever alone over there on the side. Doesn't mean that he got changed. Doesn't mean that he's bad or good. It's just that he doesn't really fit in the current role. And that's always been the way it works. And it's always comes down to, you know, can you figure out how to use a character? Now, a couple examples of that is Master Yi from League of Legends was a physical carry.